started.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to one new community call. Today it's Wednesday, 6th of September. So the main thing we have these days going on, as you know, is the test of the Kleros V2 testnet. As you know, well, this was launched a couple of weeks ago, and now we are, people are testing this, and we have been fixing a bunch of bugs and stuff that were not working well in the early days. And I think we have been updating you on the channels of what are the fixes being done. One of the main things that we launched the testnet that was not working at the beginning was the notification system, but now we have this new bot called Hermes. Maybe you can explain, Jean, what Hermes is exactly, because I don't even know very well what it is. I know it's a notification bot.
Yes, it's pretty simple. You just talk with Hermes, give it a start, and subscribe with your address. And whenever there's a case where you are drawn as a juror for the V2 testnet, the bot messages you. It did not happen to me yet, so I'm not exactly sure how the message is, but it's that's the idea. If you that was a huge difficulty for the V2 so far is to get notified when you are drawn, especially because there were lots of appeals and lots of cases. So yes, I'll send the link. JB sent it in the messages earlier today, or we send it, and it's very easy to use.
Yeah, I mean, I have been lately very excited about these new interfaces between Web3 apps and users, like under the form of Telegram bots, maybe. Like if you know the product team, who are very good friends of Kleros, they have implemented this little Telegram bot. I think the name is Betty, that you can place bets through Telegram. I think that there's a bunch of interesting ways that can help users interact with Web3 through these Web2 applications, and this puts the ease of use. Like it's easier for everyone who are already using Telegram. And this also is interesting. We have been having this week a bunch of conversations with Web2 companies that are trying to implement some Web3 processes within what is essentially in the beginning a Web2 application, because in some cases you don't need everything to be done on chain. And we had with for example with Marcos here quite interesting conversation with it's like an auction company. They do like Web2 auctions of different things. For example, you have a bank that has lots of motorcycles, and they need to make an auction because they took those motorcycles from people who didn't pay their their loans, and then now they have to sell them. And so they sometimes do these sales through some auction sites, and there's a bunch of complexities on this website needing users to make a commitment of a deposit of, when they place a bid, they need the money from the bidder to already be controlled by them. So they make sure that if that bid wins, the transaction is executed. And there's a bunch of applications that involved, the Kleros escrow, that you only discover when you dig through into these applications and with the founder very, very deep, and they explain how this process works. So we had a a super interesting conversation about use cases of Kleros in these like auction Web2 auctions websites that have like already a lot of value at that is transacted there, and where Web3 and especially solution like Kleros escrow can be one small part of the process. I know, Marcos, if you have some comment about this, as we have been exploring this type of use cases lately in a bunch of industries. If you want to add something.
Yes, well, the name. Sorry. So
Yeah.
the name of these two projects are Sherlock and BitBit. Well, in the first place, we have Sherlock that could be interesting as a supplier for Kleros for future integrations of the one we are doing with Lemon, where the users are going to be able to use that platform as a tool to create. They are going to use it as a tool. And then we had Bit that you already said how. I think you already said how we could work with BitBit, but the most important thing is that our escrow would be very useful for them. So yeah, they are going to apply to our incubator.
Yeah, so we have that. So that was super interesting, and we are trying to understand a bit more of this Web2 applications that can use Kleros for a bunch of different things. Another quite obvious use case is in the field of like insurance. You have a big industry called InsurTech, where you have lots of companies that do Web2 insurance, and they can have, even if the process in the company is a Web2 application, they could have potentially a digital solution or a claim management process that is based on a Web3 application like Kleros. So this is one of the things that we have been doing this week. Another interesting thing, we are starting to plan the launch of the new batch of the fellowship, the recruitment process. As you know, this every year or every batch we do a bunch of different topics or themes depending on what we want to research at the moment. So for this time, we have been discussing what we want to create as tracks. I can tell you a couple of them. One of them is the use of Kleros in the context of mediation processes, or more precisely, what people know as med-arb, or mediation arbitration. This is a process that starts as a mediation process, and if parties do not agree on a settlement, they go into an arbitration process. And so there is one problem that this type of processes have, is that when you start doing the mediation with one facilitator, and then you don't agree on settlement through this process, then this guy who was the mediator becomes an arbitrator. So there is a bunch of situations where parties in the mediation phase, they don't want to disclose all of the information to the mediator, because they fear that if this person eventually ends up turning into an arbitrator, then some information should not be revealed. So there's of course, negotiation and kind of game theoretical situation of what you can or what you
Excuse
cannot
me,
say.
that sounds like a conflict of interest. I think that the mediator should not be allowed to become the arbitrator, but this is like a nitty-gritty technicality nuance. I would say there is a conflict of interest, and such person is no longer impartial. It should be prohibited.
I understand, but this is a very established practice within the world of mediation and arbitration. It's called med-arb. That's basically how it works. So even if we might not agree, this exists already, and this is a practice. So it's not that we invented this. If you want, you can listen to. Yesterday, I was invited by the Arbitech community, which is a legal innovation community, to make a presentation of this method that we developed with Rob Dean. I think Rob is not here because he's in Dubai, and he's tell me this is a bit late for him. Well, Rob is an expert in MedArb, basically. That's what he does for a living, and he does this for like very big construction, like disputes, like shopping malls, stadiums, that kind of things. So what he thinks is that we can use Kleros in order to solve that, if you want, conflict of interest of the mediator becoming the arbitrator, in the sense of when you have arbitrator coming in the process. If you use Kleros, that arbitrator doesn't know the information that was disclosed before, because it wasn't the same one as the mediator. So this would be like a great conversation for you to have with Rob, who actually works on these types of processes, and he could explain why this is something that is actually done in this way, and what are the advantages or the disadvantages of this type of process. I do encourage you to take a look at the recording, because it was recorded yesterday, so it was a really nice session with a bunch of experts in MedArb.
Fede, thank you very much for this explanation, because as you were explaining this using your own words, I divided part of my attention to do a quick Google search, and I've just learned something new. I didn't know that MedArb already exists. My naive understanding was that there might be some conflict of interest, or this game theory of which information I am incentivized to disclose. But it makes sense. Let's try mediation, and if we do not agree, then we rely on the arbitrator. I think it's actually quite clever. So thank you for teaching me something new. And I assume that because it's a nuanced technical legal area, I'm pretty sure that at least one other person also learned something new.
Of course. I mean, I learned about this with Rob, so not so long ago, but it's a common practice. It has problems, and of course, it's not suitable for all of the use cases. But generally speaking, you have like in the dispute resolution industry, you have like a kind of a line going from left to right, where at the left you have processes where the parties control the outcome and the process. Like a bargaining or negotiation. I mean, the decision is made by both parties, and they need to agree on something. And if they don't agree, all good. There's no agreement. And then if you start going right, then you have like a more structured and processes where what happens is that parties relinquish part of the control over the process to put this into the third party, right? So you can have in the MedArb process, you have like first you have the bargaining and settlement process at the left, and you have like mediation processes where the mediator facilitates the discussion of parties, but still doesn't make any decision, cannot impose any decision on parties. Then you have more to the right, you have like the MedArb process where it's half mediation, but then could turn into arbitration. And then there is something called early expert evaluation, where you have experts giving opinion on some matter that is objective matter that is part of a mediation process. This is kind of where Kleros falls. For example, you have this mediation procedure, and then there is a disagreement. Let's say it's like a discussion on construction materials. One party claims that the materials were not the right ones, and the other party claims that they were. So you could have like a chaos jury make this decision if the materials were used in the right way or not. So this is kind of a expert evaluation. Then you move more to the right, and then you have like arbitration, which is a third party making the decision for the dispute, but still both parties need to agree on having that third party making the decision. And then on the extreme right, you have like litigation, where, I mean, even if parties like don't agree, there is still a justice system that's going to make a decision whether parties like it or not, right? So that's how it works. So we typically pitch and present Kleros as an arbitration tool. But well, of course, we are always open to finding new use cases. And so this is an idea actually Rob had. Rob is, very early community member, and he told me one day, look, I think that we could use Kleros in this way. And we did this brainstorming with him. We did a workshop in Paris 2 months ago during ETHCC, and we invented, a scenario about a dispute between a pharma company and a space tourism company about a project to launch a tourism rocket into space, and there was a dispute. But you can just watch yesterday's video. It's already on Twitter, so you can learn a bit more how this works. We are just starting to develop this new product, but it could be good to have Kleros start to be used in a number of use cases where we don't use Kleros because they are a bit like too complex types of disputes involving high amounts of money, or cases where people would not want to use Kleros because it's still not very well tested. So for these cases, Kleros can be just a part of the resolution process, and this is where it can work. So if you watch yesterday's the video, you can actually see the opinions of other legal experts who actually work on this type of cases in real life, and they will tell you where this can work. So we are just experimenting with this, and we'll see. Hopefully, it will open a new line of business for us. So that was a cool thing happening this week. But I will let William now give his update. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have too much to update. I've had some interesting writings that have come out in the past few weeks that maybe you've already seen. Like I had a blog article come out last week on numerical choices in Kleros. There have been a couple academic articles that came out in the past months. And now that I have some more free time because those things are done, I've been going back to the soulbound token ideas that I talked about in my talk last fall in DEF CON. To see if there are ways that we can get these sort of social layer identity reputation elements integrated into Kleros in a way that sort of adds to our existing attack resistance mechanisms. So I've been checking in with the sort of community of plurality researchers who mostly think about these ideas to enhance quadratic funding, to see if there's any progress that has been made in the past months, and sort of take it with fresh eyes, try to reapproach these problems to see if I have new ideas.
Good. And processing all of the materials I send you, of course.
Yeah, of course. You're always a good source of ideas, and if I've an article that I may have missed, so keep the materials coming.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so had that, I was mentioning that the fellowship, we're having one track that is going to try to foster research on this Kleros for mediation type of use case. There's going to be another one which is super interesting, which is the use of Kleros in the context of machine learning models, and how we can have a human layer prevent or solve a number of problems that can arise in AI type of dispute resolution, because this could be biased in some ways, depending on how you feed the data. Well, I will let William explain this. He can do a better job than me. Yeah, go ahead. You can explain a bit more about the Kleros and the AI approach we have.
So this is the idea that we want to, we view Kleros as a useful sort of add-on to AI chat tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, our idea there was that AI chatbots, have a number of edge cases where they may or may not want to give humans information. It's something legal advice, it's something medical advice, and of course there are strict legal requirements on them providing this kinds of advice, which is they want it being conservative, and they err on the side of not providing information. And one idea that we had was that you can sort of combine crowdsourcing and sort of the AIs to have like a procedure where human beings might ask an AI tool to like provide them information, and then the AI will default to like be conservative and not provide them information. But then the human being can like appeal to a pool of crowdsourcing like Kleros that can overrule the AI, and then the AI, if the crowdsourcing tells it to say this information is okay to provide, might like then disclose some like response to a question that may have had something to do with the law, but like crowdsourcing said wasn't really legal advice.
Yeah, so we have that, and also this can be implemented in different ways. Imagine the future of the solution is going to be a bit of a combination of AI and human methods. So for more, what we think is that for more objective and simple decisions, like this will be mostly automated because it's more efficient and it's cheaper to have like a tool that I don't know, for example, removes spam from chats. That's quite straightforward. It could be resolved by a bot. But then there is situations where someone claims, "Hey, this was not spam. This was me actually sending a legit message of interest to the group." And then how do you resolve this? And then you will have maybe a second layer of decision making that is going to be done by humans. And this is what we think Kleros is going to fill a role here, like being a distributed solution layer for when AI failed, or for cases where AI was not is typically not very efficient. Or for example, in the field of content moderation, that, as you know, we have been following quite closely for a while. So spam is very easy to detect by some automated tool. Situations more like harassment are very hard because typically they involve understanding some context of a conversation and some type of relation existing between the parties that are involved in the dispute. So that's very hard for automated tools to resolve. And this is something that I mentioned this already in the past here, but like big companies like Facebook, they have a lot of problems. If you read their report, they publish a report, I think quarterly, about their content moderation policies, and they always try to automate these harassment type of situations, and they cannot do it because they have been trying with different methods, algorithms, whatever, and it doesn't work because it's very hard for these AI tools to understand what's going on in these situations. And this is a very big part of the distributed solution cases they have in the context of content moderation. If you want to learn more and actually see some real examples of very difficult to solve situations for automated tools, you can watch my talk of 2 years ago at the ETHCC about free speech and then distributed solution. That's where we were starting to do our research on content moderation, and you will see a bunch of like real examples of what constitutes or not, for example, violence, what is or not a threat. What about humor? Humor is very hard to understand for machines. Lots of situations in the realm of like fake news are very hard for machines to understand and to decide if it is a fake news or not, because it could be fiction, right? Fiction and novels are fake news. Well, maybe. So there's a lot of things that are very hard to do. And so we think Kleros is a good human layer for this type of decisions. So we have the mediation track, AI track, then we have others that are going to be one about constitutions, as you know, and if you have watched my recent talk at TTACC and the recent work we have been doing in the field of DAO governance. DAOs have lots of governance problems and lots of governance dramas, as you might have noticed. Maker, then we had Aragon, Wild for Humanity. This last week was Gitcoin's turn. So this is hard, and that's why we needed to have better governance tools and better, decision making, and better rules for how to make decisions. Because in the end, what we want to do is to have a two different things. We want this organization to be decentralized and to give people participation and voice and vote. But on the other hand, we don't want this openness to participation and voice and vote to become in a very ineffective organization where people, just fight between each other and they break into factions and nothing gets done. So striking that balance is super hard. And so one of the tracks for the new fellowship cohort is going to be about this type of research on how to build tools like this, and how to structure these organizations to work. I wouldn't want to say flawlessly, but at least with less conflict. So we have that track as well, and we have been already doing a lot of work together and research with blockchain gov. Jamilia, as you know, who is part of the Kleros team, is also doing her PhD in Paris University, and she's part of blockchain gov. She works with Primavera De Filippi in this type of research. And just this week, we published the podcast episode with Primavera, and we discussed with her lots of stuff about DAO constitutions and DAO governance in general. So if you are into that type of topics, you can listen to that episode. And if you are interested in doing this type of research, you can apply to the fellowship. And there's a bunch of other tracks that, I don't want to go through one by one because it will take a lot of time, but you can, we will probably publish this next week, so you can see if this is of interest to you. So we have that going on this week. I don't know if Shotaro, maybe you have something to update about Kleros Moderate. Anything you think is worth mentioning?
So I've been off for the past week and coming back this week. We made some effort with Hermes, a different program bot, an application bot for courts. If you're drawn in a dispute, this bot will notify you and about potential appeal periods. It's working for V2, but just getting the setup for V1 as well. So if you ever had trouble, getting notified about disputes, once much longer, you'll have Telegram as another option. About Moderate, mostly improving the backend. So it doesn't really have a consequence for the end user, but we're making improvements.
Well, a better backend is a better app in the end, and this is good for the user, right? So we could say that.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So I know, Marcos, if you want to mention something from business development or.
Yes, we have some updates on the BD side. So in first place, about Susi, we are currently having some conversations with various groups and communities. Some of the groups that are in the convincing process are Etherisk, Singaporean NFT, Gnosis Chain, and Q Protocol. Then, next week we are going to have some new updates about this important integration. So with this integration with an important wallet that Wang Mian and Ehil have been mostly working with them, but I think we can say nothing for this week, right, Federico?
I don't think we can mention anything else for now.
Okay.
We'll have a teaser tomorrow.
Okay. So let's
tomorrow there's going to be a teaser.
Okay, sure. And then, about the weekly update about Lemon, we are writing some new tools to Lemon users, and actually one of these ones is the integration we could do in the midterm or in the midterm with Sherlock. That is going to be a tool that is going to be useful for the users to create more like better defenses. So yeah. And we are going to be attending to some important events. So a few of us are going to be going to the token 2049 that I think is going to be in Singapore. Well, last week I was in the e-commerce day that was in Argentina.
Yeah, I'm going to be in. If you are going to token 2049 in Singapore, I mean, I will be there. So happy to speak to any of you and meet you in person. So let me know if you're going to be there. This time is going to be a very big event. I was in token 2049 in 2018. It was done actually in Hong Kong by then, and that was when we were doing the road show for the token sale. So yeah, so it's going to be my back there to that event. I remember I was at a panel with Martin Koppelman from Gnosis. I was with the guys from, I think from Golem. Remember Golem? That team was about the decentralized computing scalability, I think. And then Lisk. I was with one of the guys from Lisk. I think that was in my panel. So anyway, if you're going to be in Singapore, so yeah, happy to meet you. And I guess I don't have much more for today.
Just a side comment. Golem was one of the first projects I heard about in 2017 or so that I thought, oh wow, yeah, decentralized computation makes sense, right? Yeah, but in any case, they're still around.
I mean, yeah, they're still around. I remember I went to they were in my panel. I remember Mars. I think they are from Poland, you know.
Yes,
So
they are from Poland, and I think that they've raised so much ETH in their ICO crowd sale that their total market cap of the coin is lower than their overall ETH balance.
yeah, now they own Poland basically. They are the owners of the country with all of the ETH they. Yeah.
But on the upside, it means that people who are involved, they have enough liquid capital to kickstart and provide a seed investment into a variety of projects. So yeah, they've been one of the very first ICOs. I think it was 2016. And you know, you were talking about potential use cases for Kleros. One of my consistent messages is to always think bigger. For example, in Africa, recently there has been some like a military coups that the president was removed from the office. And, you know, at some point, I think that there will be the democracy, there will be rule of law. But these countries, they do not have a typical infrastructure as we see in the Western world. So as they will, I think that there will be some democratic process at some point. So rather than trying to do this the old way, we can just skip the landlines, skip the mobiles, go directly to blockchain, Starlink, and Kleros. So this is just my never-ending message. Let's think bigger how Kleros can become a building block of the civilization.
I mean, I'm into that. I mean, I'm Argentinian, so you know, I started Kleros because of I mean, a number of problems Argentinians had back then when they wanted to like be integrated, you know, into the world economy, because you couldn't sell your services to other people. So crypto could help you with that. I mean, because you could have customers anywhere in the world, but then you didn't have the secure solution system, so nobody would hire you if you were a poor Argentinian guy. I mean, who. I mean, maybe you learn how to code or to design through the internet, but then people cannot hire you because they cannot pay you because of the banking, you know, capital controls or the high fees. So crypto solved that, but you still need some way to solve disputes if someone is going to hire you from another country, and then how are they going to solve a dispute with you? I mean, you're not going to go to court Argentina, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that our personal experience, our life story is affecting our worldview. The founders of Skype, they had a problem. They are from Estonia, and then they created this Skype mafia, just like a PayPal mafia, when the group of founders have access to capital, just like these golem guys from Poland. And then because they have this network capital community, they have opportunity to fund more startups. So the founders of Skype, they created the TransferWise for international bank transfers, and it was also scratching their own itch. And related to that is diversity as competitive advantage. When you have the team, which is someone is from Africa, someone is from LATAM, someone is from Asia, diversity is a competitive advantage, because then you have people with more life experience, with more insights, with broader network. And yes, I'm actually still very super enthusiastic about joining Kleros. I posted on the forum a Google Doc that has 8 pages. It has a couple of ideas. And a couple of days ago, the IPFS node of Kleros went down. I am actually using Kleros node for a project. And look, we actually need to have some monitoring and like a resilience. Kleros is a building block of a civilization. And when Kleros IPFS node is down, some of the products are not accessible to the users. So I'm just voicing this concern. Wow, maybe we need to invest something in monitoring infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. Do you remember exactly what happened? Because we do have lots of monitoring tools. And this time, yeah, I mean, of course, when we got the report, we immediately went to see what happened, but it was not a problem with the IPFS. I don't remember what was the problem. George, I mean, we can share this later in the Telegram channel, because we did a post-mortem of this, and it was I don't remember exactly now,
Yeah.
but it was not as
I don't know either, but I'll ask George to share a little bit about it. I think it's like a good idea to have a dashboard. Even the probably the best idea will be not to have like anything that relies on us, right? But yeah.
Fede,
I'll
your reaction was very fast, because I remember I reported an issue and it was resolved the very next day. But yeah, the ideally there are no bugs, no errors, infrastructure is always up. But sometimes mistakes and errors and bugs happen. And yeah, this is just something that just confirms my thesis. I put a Google Doc 8 pages long, and the monitoring was one item on the list. So it just proves my thesis. And look, I just enjoy Kleros. I want to make this project a massive worldwide and even multi-planetary success. So yeah, I hope that at some point we will end up working together as a part of the fellowship, as a part of the incubator, as some hackathon. Yeah, there is always a way.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, guys, that's it for today.
Hey, Federico, one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
One more thing. I would like to give a little bit of some minutes to Nikita from the PTF project. I don't know, Nikita, if you're there, if you're able to speak.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Nikita. I'm the founder of BCM, and BCA is building an exit marketplace underpinned by a reputation platform that in fact uses Kleros. So what I mean by that is that we essentially have this reputation platform that leverages prediction markets to identify crypto expertise and reward it. And Kleros is sort of at the center of our platform. So we use Kleros to resolve our markets. Yeah, and I was just gonna tell about my projects and invite people over to a Discord since we're launching pretty soon in September, late September.
Okay, that's great. I will test it then. You can share on the channel if you want the link, so we can take a look.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Amazing. Awesome.
I'll share the Discord link in the chat if that's okay.
No problem. I mean, maybe someone has a question for you.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Because I kind of rushed through the explanation. But I guess I'll explain the idea more in the... Yeah, sorry.
No, just to know if I got it right, it's basically a platform where crypto influencers or crypto figures can make predictions, and they can be ranked according to their performance, and that's kind of a reputation score for them, right?
Yes, so the idea essentially is that we rank people based on how well they predict crypto trends, and for correct predictions, they receive soulbound tokens, which they can display in their social media profiles. For example, their Lens profile integrates into their Lens profile. And this would kind of allow kind of true experts to stand out and attract more followers. But sort of down the line, what we plan to do is to actually build an expert marketplace where we not only help identify those sort of true experts, but we also connect them to protocols that need their services. So, for example, for ambassadorial work or like advisory work, something like that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing with us. You can post this on the channel so people who are interested can go there. Thank you very much, guys, for coming. I'm not going to be here for the community call next week because I will be in Token 2049. If someone happens to be there, I can meet you there. Otherwise, I guess I will see you in 2 weeks, okay? Thank you all for coming, guys. And stay tuned tomorrow for maybe a teaser of something that is coming that is very cool. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.